Welcome back, everybody. On today's episode, I'm very excited to have a special guest, Renée-Star. And Renée was the teacher that I had when I started learning to access information through the Akashic records. So it was about a year ago, which we were just discussing. We can't believe it's been a year that I was doing training with her.
Are you a starseed? Do you have a mission here on Earth? Do you sometimes struggle to fit in? You're in the right place. Join me and special guests as we share our personal stories as galactic ground crew here on Becoming Iris.
So Renée, would you like to introduce yourself and what it is that you do in the world, your service?
Yes, of course. Hello, everyone. I'm Renée-Star, and privileged and honoured to be here, actually. It's really lovely to connect with you again, and I can't believe, like you said, that it's been a year. But my job on this, I want to say on this journey, on this wild ride that we're kind of like surfing, is I would call myself an Ascension guide, a gatekeeper, a key coder, like a bit of a cosmic girl. So really just connected in with the Akash and the books, and the Atlantean gold print, the Emerald Path, just helping people to access their higher aspects, if you like, and embody it into this physical 3D reality. So bringing in the higher aspects and bringing it into this. I want to say, well, we are in a 3D matrix, but we're bringing in the higher aspects of ourselves, which are in the 5th, 6th, 7th, and sometimes up to the 12th dimension people are now bringing in, which is just absolutely gorgeous. So, yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for being here. It's fantastic to have you. And I guess I'm just really interested to know, because this isn't something I know either about you, is before you stepped into your service and when you were still sort of in what we call the matrix of the 3D, what was it that you were doing in the world, and how did you come to be doing what you're doing?
Yeah, okay. So I worked in fashion. So I used to dress all the windows and make them look beautiful, and travel to London and bits and pieces, so it was really working in fashion. And so it was quite interesting, because I still love fashion and I still love style. I still love lovely clothes and jewelry, and who doesn't really? And so my experience was a walk-in. So I'm what you call a walk-in, which is where the old soul kind of like walks out and a new soul walks in, which was extremely a very difficult situation to go through. There were many, I won't go into too much detail, but there were circumstances that led up to that walk-in for me to kind of like, for the old soul just to go, had enough now. I'm going to make a contract for this new soul to walk in. So when the new soul walked in, it was like seeing through new eyes. It was like looking at, and this is the honest truth, looking at a leaf, like on a tree, and seeing everything in high definition. Like my whole eyesight had changed. I was seeing molecules in the sky. It was just a complete upgrade of, I want to say, like new information, guidance, new healing modalities that were starting to flow through for and to help people on the Ascension pathway. Now, if you'd have said to me then that I would be doing what I'm doing now, I'd just say, no chance. You've got no chance. That is not going to happen on any level. Just kind of like putting a funny spin on it, because now I see where I am and I think, my God, how on earth did that actually happen? How has that happened? And that is the absolute gift and the golden nugget in it all. That if I can get through, because my whole body literally just broke down, like I couldn't walk, my feet felt like they were going through the floor. So it was almost like a baby having to kind of like learn how to walk again. So it wasn't just like a spiritual thing, it was like a physical thing as well, you know, like, does that make sense? So
it does. And so how long ago are we talking? Like, when did this happen to you? Is this...
Oh my gosh, so when I was 32, so I'm 43 this year, so so 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
And did you know what was happening at the time? So how did you navigate?
I was so scared because I had something called a broken heart syndrome, which is you actually have a broken heart and it can take time to heal. And so I lots of trips to the hospital to try and find out, you know, what was wrong with me, and everything. There was nothing wrong with me, and it was just literally my whole my whole body just going through a complete upgrade, and like the old energy leaving, and it was the physical body that had to get used to this huge new energy that had come through, and like, you know, kind of like settle into this physical body. And that can be really difficult, you know, if you think about that, you know, the intensity of that. And it happened very quickly. I mean, quite a unique kind of set of circumstances that I went through, and I chose it, you know, I made that agreement. So on a higher level, I mean, I didn't even know that my higher self existed then, you know. I was like, well, what's that all about?
You know, I guess what's coming up for me is that you can, with hindsight, you can look back and with all the knowledge and information that you have now, but at the time it would have been very scary. And who did you turn to? Like, who was able to assist you? And like, how did you then realize what was going on? Was it someone like a mentor, or who did you have that was able
no
to?
one.
So you did it all yourself?
I did everything myself, yeah. Obviously I was Reiki attuned, and I was angelic Reiki attuned, and they did help to a certain extent, but they couldn't give me the answers that I needed. So it was almost like sitting and channeling and tuning in and asking, you know, what has just happened to me, you know. And then it was confirmed later on by a really gifted psychic. Mm-hmm. She was like, yeah, you're a walk-in. So yeah, it was like, right, okay, now I know what I'm dealing with. I can start to work with that energy a bit more, and like understand my life's mission more, you know, the mission that I'm here to do, because we all come here with a mission, the soul's mission. We made that, we orchestrated that, and we ordained that with God, you know. And it's just whether we decide that we agree to that we are going to agree to that soul mission. And
just one final, when you say you were Reiki attuned, so had you decided to do Reiki, or was that something that was gifted to you?
No, I was Reiki attuned and angelic Reiki attuned, obviously, as well. Which, like I said, really helpful at the time, really helpful. But I tend not to use those modalities anymore, because I've got sort of the goddess Isis healing and things like that I work with a bit more, or the Ra healing, which is something new that's just come through. So it's been an evolution. I mean, it's like you as you raise your frequency and you raise your vibration, new gifts and codes unlock for you, and you start to kind of like implement them or download them through yourself. And obviously you utilize that in your everyday, or you share it with your friends and family. And I think that's really where that's, and we've got an activation coming through right now as we're talking. Can you feel that on your sort of really very much on the forehead? So we've got, there's always even as we speak, there's keys and codes being exchanged, you know, on such a high level. But it is really about, my job now is really about helping people to access their master gifts. So really, you know, like with the Akashic records, you know, helping people to clear out the old programming that's no longer serving them, so that they can step into that higher version of themselves.
So what would you say to people who maybe are you know, waking up to their spiritual gifts, or they feel like they might have something, or you know, they're going through this transitionary period. And you mentioned that you didn't have anyone to turn to at the time, like you did it alone. So people maybe that are in that situation and potentially do feel alone, like they don't feel that they have, you know, maybe none of their friends and family can relate. What advice would you give to those people?
Yeah, so first of all, yeah, I mean, if I had, because I think what happened to me was so unique, people didn't really understand where I was coming from. Whereas I think because lots of people are now aware that they've had walk-ins or that they are waking up, that it's more, I think, because when I woke up 10 years ago, or when I not woke up, but when I had that walk-in 10 years ago, it probably wasn't as socially acceptable then as what it is now, because we've been through a massive shift, haven't we, in consciousness. So now people are understanding, people are more open to that. So there will be more people to help, which is a beautiful thing. But my advice is to connect with someone that you feel a real lovely heart connection with, that you feel comfortable in their presence. Someone that has got experience in whatever they're going through, so that they understand them.
Okay, that's really beautiful. And what is it that you actually do, like practically speaking? So I know you shared a little bit about it, but can you, because I know you have a lot of offerings and there's lots of different things, can you talk a little bit more about it, and maybe explain a little bit about what actually is the Akashic Records for people who've never heard of that before?
Of course, yes. So I do. My main ones at the moment that I offer are the Halls of Amenti activation, which is really going in and looking at your soul mission, and having a look and deciding on whether you really want to go for it this lifetime. Because when you do sign that contract and you sort of upgrade it, you upgrade your DNA, you upgrade it, you start to find that new information, new guidance starts to come through. So that's the first one.
And what is the Halls of Amenti for people that haven't heard of that?
So not everyone has access to their halls. You get access to your Halls of Amenti, so like your master contract, when you've done enough work on I want to say like on a 3D level. So as you start to clear the programming and the contracts that no longer serve you, you raise your frequency enough. And if my lovely friend Anubis, who is here, who I work with quite a lot, the gods of Egypt. So when they feel, and obviously Anubis had lifetimes in Golden Atlantis as well. So when they feel that we have, I want to say, tick the boxes, and they feel that we're ready, they feel that we have learned enough, then we then get access into the Halls of Amenti, which is our own master room, and it has books from universities and schools all across all galaxies and universes. Okay, so it's a very expanded consciousness that we then begin to tap into, to kind of bring in those higher aspects of ourselves, and knowledge and wisdom and keys and codes that we might have learned in Sirius, in one of the universities. Or do you see what I'm saying? So or with the Palladians or the Andromedans. So it's really just bringing in those higher aspects. So the Akashic Records is really used for souls who have got programming within them that they haven't been able to release and let go of, and they don't know how to let go of it, and they don't know how to upgrade themselves. So it's really pivotal to work in those records in order to bring yourself into alignment with accessing the higher aspects of yourself. And it's just beautiful. It works seamlessly and beautifully together. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's definitely my experience of, so I came to you first as a client. I was referred by a beautiful friend, and as soon as I saw your picture, your photograph and your page, everything on there, I was like, oh, I need to, like, it was just an automatic
Oh,
magnetic pull, everything that you said there and all of your imagery, which is so beautiful. And then once I had the session, I was so jazzed up by what came through that I was like, I need to do the training and I want to learn how to work in the Akashic records. And because you're in the UK and I'm in Australia, the time zone wasn't really a great fit. So I said, what if I can get a group of people and we can do our own Australian training? And then we had our own training. So that was very pivotal for me to work with you in that way. So if anyone's interested in the Akashic records or, learning how to work in there, I would highly recommend that, because it was amazing and so much unfolded for me personally through there. And really that is the basis of this podcast, was I can kind of go back to my beginnings in opening up and understanding the Akashic records. So yeah, it was very powerful.
It was beautiful, wasn't it? I remember in some of those sessions we were clearing so much. I felt like in some sessions I was going to fall off my chair, because the energy that was shifted was so huge. But really so beautiful. I was honoured and privileged to be sharing that space with you all, and that you're all kind of like, I think most of you are now using that in your work and with your clients, and that's what makes me so happy, because it's that's going to help so many people just to raise their frequency and step into into more love and more union, divine feminine union, and masculine, I can't get my words out, masculine and feminine union within, so that they can then, because once you've got that stable, strong foundation, that's when you can then go out and share all your love and all your gifts and all your keys and codes. And
And what do you see as being sort of like the main thing, like with clients that are coming through? What's sort of the trend at the moment? Like what's going on with the clients that are coming to you? Is there a sort of...
So lots of people at the moment are struggling with the energies, because they are extremely powerful at the moment, and I think because I've been through some very, very intense training and I don't know how I can laugh about that really, because it's not funny at all. But so anyway, once you kind of like go through, it's like training, isn't it? You go through training and you go through it so that when you come out the other side, you're stood really, really strong, ready to help guide as many people through what you've just been through. So usually with the Ascension energies, I get like a download of what's going to happen with the Ascension energies, usually a day before. So I tend to kind of like share energy updates so that people know what's coming. So I'm like, I give people like the heads up, like this is what's going to happen. So really when people are coming to me at the moment, it's because they're stuck on loops. And they're struggling with the Ascension energies. So they don't quite know how to shift their frequency. But by the end of the session, and some of them are like an hour, I'll say, how do you feel about that loop that you were stuck on? How does that feel to you now? And they're like, can't even think of it. It's gone. So it literally gets wiped out. So it is really powerful work.
Yeah.
And it is very powerful work. And it's about elevating their consciousness, elevating their frequency. So usually by the time I've finished with them, they're like, I'm going to go and put some music on and dance, and that is what it's all about. It is about, because when you're in that high frequency, that's when you can bring all the good to you.
Yeah. And having fun along the way. And
having fun, which is what everyone's forgotten about, isn't it? They're like, it is serious stuff, this. It is.
Yeah.
Because it's just on a soul level, we're working with souls and energy, but at the same time it's about remembering that we are here to have fun and to dance and to have a good time. So
What would you, like, what are you excited about? Like, we're at this big point in our evolution, things are moving and shifting and changing. What would you either, like, love to see, or what is it that's exciting to you for the future?
Yeah, so the most exciting thing for me is I know that there's going to be lots of healing centres popping up all over the world. That's what I'm really excited about. People living off the land rather than, these huge, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to bring that in, but where living, not necessarily living off the land, but beginning to live that fifth dimensional way, the fifth in a more loving, conscious way is what I'm excited about. And also all the communities coming together all over the planet, because it's really interesting. I see this huge net, and I don't mean like a net that you'd get trapped in. I mean it's like a crystalline net. It's like a grid, that's over the earth that we already know about anyway. But I see like diamonds lighting up all over, and it's like the energy of Archangel Gabriel and the crystalline light. So it's holding that energy of that. The Christ-stellar star, and I feel that energy is now really starting, the Mother Arc and the Green Emerald Ray now really starting to come through, which is really beautiful.
Yeah, it feels like we're right on the cusp of something big, and the way that
the old ways can't continue.
Yeah,
it's going to be wiped out, literally. I mean, I don't mean that in those of us that have chosen that higher timeline, the old timeline will still exist, but those of us that have chosen that higher timeline, we get to, surf those cosmic waves. And I feel like it's like we begin to bring through, as we begin to bring through those higher frequencies, we then help the old still to transmute, but we become detached from it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're still, because those energies still live on Mother Earth. Mother Earth is part of us, so we're all part of the one. But we those of us way showers that are living that higher timeline are still going to be helping the souls who maybe are not quite there yet. We're going to be showing them the way. We're going to be helping them and guiding them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So what are the things that you feel are potentially, like, because I know that we've at different times about lives in Atlantis and lives in different places, like, are any of those things present for you? Like when you said the healing centers, is that something that you feel might be like Atlantean type healing centers, or are there things from those timelines that you feel are coming forward again now?
Yes, definitely. So I feel like you've got the Golden Atlantean template really starting to really anchor in, and those foundations are being laid now for us to literally build on, and that's like a golden template.
And I feel that's part of what we did in Greece as well, because the imagery that we had was a golden ankh, and basically we'll bring that golden ankh light down. So I don't know if you remember everything that transpired, but in our call there was this message that came through about going to Greece, and it was for the Lion's Gate. And then I ended up taking a group of people, and you were energetically part of that. I very much felt you there. But when we were on Delos, it was a golden ankh light, and that felt to me to be part of this Atlantean template that was being, because at the place that we were, that was part of Atlantis, and there was, you can see the remains of the ruins and things like that, but the energetic imprint that we were bringing in, it felt like it was just coming home. It didn't feel as though it was necessarily that it hadn't been there before. I don't know if that makes sense, but it sounds like that's what you're talking about as well, is like we're bringing back in this golden, which has always existed, but now it's okay to come back to Earth. Is that how you would explain it, that it's coming back to Earth that's been here before, or is it, do you feel
Yes.
it's new?
Yes, Mama. Oh, yes. Yeah, no, this is so in Golden Atlantis, all of, you know, all those gifts, keys and codes are now literally being activated and brought back online now to help with the new golden earth. So that is happening for a reason, and it's so that we can start to create more love on the planet rather than living in fear. You know, this old timeline, you know, that's no longer serving us. We're now being pulled into this very high frequency, kind of like starlight. It's these golden key codes that are now beginning to activate within our soul, so that we can come together and like I said, build those old keys of community, the old keys of alchemy, of miracle healing. They're all coming back. So, you know, and you'll feel the energy of that as I say those words. You'll feel the frequency rise within your heart and across your head, because that is what we are now bringing in, those keys and codes. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, because it is literally, I want to say, magic.
What would you say to people who, you know, one of the things that I guess, I think we might have spoken into this a little bit before, but I can't remember what we spoke about, is, you know, the distortion and the differences in those timeframes in Atlantis. And I know you're saying Golden Atlantis, but for people that maybe aren't familiar with that and maybe go, okay, well, in Atlantis there was like Falls of Atlantis and there were potentially misusing technology and things like that. Is that any different to where we are now, or how would you explain that?
So that to me is a loop playing. So if you think about a record on a loop, and it never stops, does it? And it only stops when we break the programming, when we decide to get off the hamster wheel. And so in Atlantis, you know, at the fall of Atlantis, they began to use, I want to say, technologies that infiltrated and caused a lot of fear and held people in a lot of fear. And then we really did see the downfall. And I feel like maybe like a couple of years ago, we went through something quite similar on our Earth, okay, without mentioning anything too much. And it hasn't worked this time, because the light is too bright, and there is sort of a plan that's already been preordained. And if we all stick to the plan, then the light is going to win. Does that make sense? So it's much the higher perspective of all of this is that the programming this time round is not going to exist for much longer. And that's why we've got this huge shift in consciousness. I'm trying to explain it without mentioning words. And sort of trying to keep it as simple as possible.
And I think that there are quite a lot of souls that are here who were there at that time that have come back for a do-over, whether or not they were, you know, obviously on both sides of the fence, whether they were like good or bad, you know, it doesn't necessarily matter, because on a soul level it was a learning experience. But like, I know that you and I were together in Atlantis, and that there's, you know, there's many people that are sort of, when we come together with our soul family, that we have these past life experiences where, you know, we were together in Atlantis, and we were together in Sirius, and we were, you know, in Egypt, all these different things. And so it feels like that's something that is very present for me. Definitely when I went to Greece, that a lot of soul memory came up about that time, and it was very moving for me to have that memory. And I'm sure that you had that as well, with like, you know, remembering things that happened at that time and how it all went.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was, when I first had my realization of having a lifetime in Atlantis, very emotional,
Mm.
very, very emotional, lots of crying, lots of tears. But obviously, you kind of like begin to heal,
Yeah.
and you start to remove the programming and the collars that were placed around our necks at the fall of Atlantis, and any kind of like energies that could kind of like interfere. You start to clear it all, and you start to kind of like, I want to say again, see everything from a higher perspective. Right, okay, now that's what's happening on the planet. That's why we're being called into this. That's why we're being called into our master contracts.
Yeah.
Especially those of us that were there in Atlantis. Not everyone was in Atlantis.
Yeah.
So there will be some souls who don't understand what we're talking about when we say that. But again, they'll still be going through their own waking up process. So it is, I mean, we've trained for lifetimes to be where we are now. It's been a rigorous, I want to say, like almost like regimented sometimes.
Like SAS training.
Yeah, exactly like that. So it's been very, very intense at times, but it's all to serve the higher purpose. And because if we can stand and be really strong, think about how many souls we can help. And our job, I really feel at the moment, is I always call it hoying over, pulling these people onto the Ascension ship and helping them to wake up so they can see, so that we can then move into that higher frequency on planet Earth and live in more love, live in more peace, and essentially save Mother Earth. Because if we don't start to implement those higher consciousness ways of living, are we going to see it through? Do you see what I mean? So it's about just making sure that we go into that master contract and we tick off our assignments. I want to say our assignments. So
Yeah, it's reminding me of this saying that I heard, which is that a lot of us are here. I feel like you fall into this category, which is that you're not really here for the sheep, but you're here for the sleeping lions. So the lions that came like with a mission, but they might not necessarily have fully stepped into that. They might be like there with like one eye open. And this really feels like the time of like getting all the lions to wake up, to step into what it is that they came to fulfill. Because not every single person's going to wait. Some people, they're on what we might call a holiday lifetime as such. They're not really here. They didn't come on a mission. Like, not every person came on mission, but the ones that did, it's kind of like go time now. Like, this is
it's we're already, now is the time. It's really interesting as well, because people go, what do you mean I've got a mission? What do you mean I've got a mission? And I'm thinking, well, yes, you have got a mission. Yes, you have got a mission. Well, what, little old me? And I thought, well, no, not little old you, because you're very special and an intrinsic part. Every single soul on this planet is. We all play a part in this beautiful crystalline net of higher consciousness, and every single soul holds the light. So it holds those higher key codes. It's just whether it can sound a bit out there, for the people who are not necessarily aware of that. But every single soul on this planet has got a mission, and lots of people, and that as I'm speaking this, when people watch this, the light bulb will go on. They'll go, oh my God, now I understand. Now I get it. So it just might take one person to flick that switch on for them to just literally wake up and go, right, now I know what I'm here to do.
So what would be your final words of wisdom or parting advice, or, like for those people that have kind of this feeling inside them that there is something, but they don't know what it is. Like they're not, they're just sort of unsure, and maybe they're like on the fence with things, things. And what would you say to those people?
Yeah, reach out to people, reach out to those who are already on the ascension pathway, spiritual pathway, and just ask questions. And then if the energy is feeling right, and you're going to a spiritual teacher or a healer, if the energy feels right, then obviously start to work with that soul, because I promise you, if you commit yourself to your energy healing and your ascension pathway, you will see huge shifts in your own life. And it will be like, you'll look back in a year's time and you'll be like, oh my God, I'm not the same person, the same as you, like where you are now. Even myself, it's like we're always evolving, we're always growing. But if you can get someone to support you through that journey, and that's even better. So that's my advice, that don't feel alone, connect with others.
And that can also be online, can't it? Because a lot of the time.
Absolutely, I mean, I work with people all over the world. I work with people in New Zealand, in America, in Germany. So don't feel that you can't. My door's always open, to people who really need the help, or just people who would like to ask some questions. I'm always happy to help.
And can you share, like, what have you got coming up? What are you offering at the moment? How can people work with you?
So I've just channeled something called the New Earth Healing, which is really beautiful, and it is like a combination of everything that I offer. So the Akashic records, Halls of Amenti, but also really working through programming and loops that people are stuck on, so that they can just go, oh right, okay, that's done and dusted with now. I can move into that higher timeline, or I can raise my frequency and come more into my heart. The Halls of Amenti session as well, if you've already done your Akashic records work and you're really wanting to move into that higher octave of light and really understand what your soul mission is. There's the Halls of Amenti, but obviously also the Akashic record sessions and Akashic records training I'm still offering, and the Goddess Isis healing activation as well, which is profound. That changes everything. And so they're really the main ones that I'm sharing at the moment. So
Beautiful. So people can, what's the best way for people to connect with you? Is that through your website?
That's through my website. So it's www.starlightascensionwithrenee-star.com.
Okay, beautiful. I'm going to pop the links below, but thank you for that. And
Well,
thank you for coming on and for your service, because I know that hasn't been an easy journey for you, but you show up every day for your work and your family, and so thank you for being you and all that you offer.
Thank you so much. It's lovely, and thank you for inviting me on. It's been a pleasure and honor. Thank you, lovely.
Thanks, Renee.